Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Roma Press live stream. I'm Andy Mattioli, co host and co editor of RomaPress.net and the Roma Press podcast. So, thank you for being here with me right after, not right after, but a couple of hours after Roma win once again in very dramatic fashion against Sassuolo at the Mapei Stadium in Reggio Emilia. This will be Roma's third away win in, I believe, a few months since May. So a great night. I think there is a lot to talk about. There is a lot of points of view that we can discuss. There is a lot of talking points that we can mention. And I welcome all questions and all comments in the chat where you can just file away, write whatever you want, and I'll try and discuss this with you. Hopefully, we can have a nice civilized conversation tonight, especially given that Napoli are getting absolutely beaten to death by Inter as we are recording this. Inter are winning 3-0 against Napoli, which means that Roma hold on to fourth place in the league table. So great news, great way to start the new week. Hopefully everybody is having a pleasant end to the weekend and we can get off to a hot start as we approach the upcoming schedule. So let me just read off the comments that we have here. I have Duncan, obviously from Indiana, as always. Thank you, Duncan, for following us from cold and rainy Indiana. More gray hair today. Absolutely. You're not the only one. I'm over here in Cleveland, Ohio, says James. Well, thank you, James, for following us. You are right in John's hometown, so that's always great to hear. We got who else? We got Eric, Forza Roma, in Rome for work, ironically. Well, Eric, make the best of it. Get some awesome food, get some amatriciana, get some cacio e pepe, some carbonara. Enjoy the views if you can. I think, honestly, to visit Rome or at least to be in Rome at this time of the year is the best. You are not exposed to the unbelievable numbers of tourists that you usually see between May and August. So if you can, enjoy it, Eric. And thank you for joining me today. We got Amos saying saying Inter doing us a nice little favor. Absolutely. Inter, it's pretty clear that this year Inter and Juve at the same time, because they play once a week, are just above everybody else. I think Milan could be right up there if they can figure this thing out with Stefano Pioli. And Napoli, it's a sad sight, honestly, like from an objective standpoint, to see reigning champions be coached by Mazzarri with a defense that includes Ostigard and Nathan. It's not good. It's not good. And it's once again, it sort of shows that certain clubs are really not used to handling big wins. Think of how Roma won the Scudetto in 2001. What happened afterwards? What happened a few years later when they barely missed relegation? So it's very unfortunate because Napoli last year were one of the top teams in the world. Let's see. What else do we have? Napoli is getting demolished by Inter right now, so we're fourth. Yes, Corey, absolutely, and that's great news. Because I don't know how much Roma were aware of this. Like, I don't know how much Roma in these instances they're aware of their potential, of what they can really do. I'm not sure if when they start off the match the way they did tonight, right? They conceded around the 20th minute, a really stupid goal, a really predictable goal. I mean, Diego Llorente watches the ball go past. Before that, a midfielder watches the ball go past. Ndika, slow on the slide. So everybody's caught ball watching. And you have to wonder, well, what are they thinking at that moment? Do they know that if they get a win, they get fourth place? Where is the concentration in doing that? Where's the dedication that we then see in the final minutes of the match? We got Richard from New Mexico. Again, thank you, Richard, so much for joining us. Great to have you here. We got amazing Vincent. Never would have thought Rasmus Christensen would have been the game-changing substitution. Yes, a pretty incredible impact, to be honest. He gets his penalty. He scores a completely deflected goal, to the point that you can see even Asmoon being like, "Man, like, why didn't you pass me the ball?" Wow, it goes in. It's very funny. But again, I mentioned this in the episode that we recorded with John right after the match and before this. I said that if this isn't the game that proves to us fans, but primarily to Mourinho, to the team, that you have to basically try and throw everything out there. Like, just try, experiment. If you have Christensen on the bench, throw him out there, right? Same thing with Asmoon. Asmoon right now is becoming a steady addition to the team's rotation. That's a very welcome sight. And I like his presence. I like his energy. But he is there for a reason. Because at the beginning, he was thrown out there into the mix just for the hell of it. And yet, we have a useful player. Haiti, Forza Roma, Haiti, thank you so much for being here. If I'm correct, you're following us all the way from Australia, if I remember correctly. Hi, Alex from Ghana. Thank you, Alex, for once again being here with us. Find it hilarious that Roma are basically fourth. We were 17th 2 months ago. Yeah, it's a wild ride. It's a wild ride, and it depends largely on Roma, what they do. Roma must be aware of it, but it also depends partly on what the other teams are up to. And again, with the exception of Inter, who in my mind, I mean, they are certified winners, obviously, this year. It almost like feels like it's Simone Inzaghi's turn, right? I don't know if Juve will be able to sustain this rhythm, especially with the kind of inexperience that they have within this squad. They do tend to get lucky, but I don't want to discredit Massimiliano Allegri, because I think he's got something figured out now that Juventus can focus just on Serie A. Mazin, so good to see you, Mazin. Thank you for being here with us. Good old friend of the podcast. Happy for the win. I don't want to see the back three ever again. We play much better with 4-3-1-2 or 4-3-2-1. We got a Roma supporter. So this Fijici and Aya always want to punish Mourinho when he says the same as others in Italy when it comes to the refereeing situation. Balzaretti last match, nothing happens, but since it's Mu, he could get suspended. Yeah, it's a very situation with Mourinho was very weird, because Mourinho didn't even insult the referee. I get where maybe the outrage is coming from. Somebody openly discussing the fact that a referee has been chosen for a match that you're supposed to be featured in, and Mourinho mentions the fact that Mercenaro, who was the primary official tonight, Mercenaro as a fourth official in previous games that where Roma were involved, he did not prove secure enough in his handling of, say, for example, what's going on in the bench area. I agree with you. I've heard the likes of Sarri tonight, Thiago Motta from Bologna say much worse, much worse about certain referees, and yet there is no immediate reaction. Mourinho says it yesterday in the press conference around 2:00 in the afternoon. Literally at 3:00 in the afternoon, Aya, Fijici have a whole statement. There is an investigation supposedly going on, because General Manager Tiago Pinto said so far there have been no inquiries made to Roma in this matter. So hopefully Mourinho doesn't get suspended, because if you're gonna treat Mourinho a certain way, you have to treat everybody the same way. I mean, it's just that's the way it is. Especially Sarri, who is just not even because he's a Lazio manager, but just because he's known for making these comments on repeated occasions. Haiti, twice in 2 weeks I caught you live. Winning is great. Thank you so much, Haiti. It's great. I missed the last live stream, but I also thought that people were not exactly too excited to talk about what happened against Servette in Switzerland on Thursday night. So here we are. Anthony, good to see you, Anthony. Thank you for tuning in once again. Roma only start playing by the 61st minute. I think that's even generous, honestly. I do believe that Roma, I think tonight, Roma had perhaps the best reaction out of all the games that we've seen so far where they had that late comeback. I thought first, first 40 minutes, quite disgraceful. What followed was a whole different story. And again, I want to stress the importance of having Sardar Azmoun out there. I liked what I saw from him. He was always involved, he's always there, no matter what it means, whether it means tracking back, which he's learning because Mourinho said it himself, he's still got ways to learn, or just simply reading Lukaku's movement and getting him that pass. And obviously, Lukaku is shooting it straight at the goalkeeper. I think that's a player right there who knows that in order to win, you need to do the small things right. That's why I like Sardar Azmoun, and that's what I want to see more of him, and that's why I'm encouraged when I see him get more minutes like he did tonight, because he really deserves it. If there is a player that deserves it, if you are supposed to give more minutes to players that deserve it, Sardar Azmoun, I think, is on the top of my list. We got Jeff. Ciao, Andy. What a result. Any thoughts on Zalewski finally gaining form but not seeing the field with Roma, especially when Spinazzola is struggling? To me, it blows my mind, because I actually thought that Spinazzola did such a horrendous job against Servette. This would have been a guaranteed start for Zalewski. As you point out, Zalewski with Poland was doing better. And it seems like even with Roma, he sort of grew into a little bit in confidence, but so far nothing. And I don't think, I mean, Spinazzola was non-existent once again, although not detrimental, which is already a good thing, but non-existent. And it's confusing how we cannot build stability on those flanks, because up until the 60th minute, if you ask me, well, what did the wingers do? I would have been like, what wingers? Who played? Who crossed the ball? Was there even movement on the flanks? If Spinazzola starts next game, it's either sabotage or he has some nasty info about Mourinho. I know Elche is better as a sub. I don't know why Zalewski is in jail, but Spinac is finished and belongs to Saudi. A lot of links to Saudi Arabia for Leonardo Spinazzola, a player who I truly believe that is destined to leave Roma. His agent has already started the song and dance about potentially renewing the contract with Roma or potentially considering options from abroad. Now, that's obviously the agent's job, but it's always so funny to see this guy, because this guy is very famous. I mean, he's an agent, but obviously he's like, in Hollywood, they call them Nepo babies, when you're related to a big star. Well, Spinazzola's agent is the son of former Italy coach Marcello Lippi. So he's just a very funny character who every once in a while comes out of the woodwork to just say that Spinazzola is the greatest fullback that has ever lived, and he can aspire to great teams in the future. Although Spinazzola, hey, is already 30, pushing 31, has had a very serious injury that never saw him return the way he played before the injury in Euro 2020. Andy, I advised we should be patient, support our team. When all of them are healthy, then we can judge them. But until then, support is all they need. Let the coach do the criticism. Well, I mean, I let the coach do the criticism. I strongly believe that, just like you said, judgment is still out there on this team. I can still say what I think when the team plays, right? If a team gives me a performance, I can still come up with something about whether the team showed enough, whether they're still lacking in something. If Smalling is out until the new year, you still have to play, right? And the results that count are the ones that you see on the pitch when the team plays. You can't eternally wait for the return of somebody. You have to make do with what you have. Luckily, Renato Sanchez is back. Paulo Dybala back. Lorenzo Pellegrini back again. So here we are, and we can finally see Roma climb in the table and reaffirm their position in the top four, that holy place that we always aspire to. So I just want to note that we have 44 people watching. Great to have all of you here with me, but we only have 18 likes, so something's completely off in maths. And I would encourage kindly for everybody to click the like button so that we can have more people join us. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, this is where you can find all of the podcast episodes in video form with John and I, where we discuss everything that happens with Roma. Here is also where you can find all the live streams that I usually schedule a couple of hours in advance, so you have all the time in the world to prepare, and you can join and interact whenever you want. And if you like what we do with Roma Press on social media, on the website, on the podcast, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Roma Press. You can find all the links that you need down below in the description box. So thank you so much. We got Haiti again. Spinazzola was a liability tonight. Well, the question is, when isn't he? First half was so shit that but red for Sassuolo and penalty increased their confidence. I think honestly, up until the 40th minute, when Dybala gets that shot off, and Consigli does a wonderful job on it, I think that's when Roma came alive. So I do believe that the red contributed. Obviously, you always that always has. But I do think once again Roma were in a completely different position. And I still wonder what the hell goes on in their minds. To start the game a certain way and end it in the opposite way. I don't understand, because the quality is there. It's the same players. The stakes are the same. Everything is the same. Yet Roma take their sweet time to come alive. And I wonder if anybody knows what's going on. Why is that? Because, if it happens once, okay. If it happens twice, okay. But now I think it happened like 5 times in the last 2 months, right? That we have these sort of late comeback wins. We go down and we somehow manage to turn it around. Well, it's a pattern, and it's a very interesting pattern, and I'm not discouraged by it at all. I love it. But I want to know why that happens, that in their minds, they cannot turn that switch on earlier in the match. Why does it take 60, 70, 80 minutes sometimes to get it going? Why can't they make their lives a little bit easier? I think even Leandro Paredes in his post-match interview tapped into that. He said it seems like almost like if we can't suffer, we can't be happy, right? Like if we don't go down in the first half, or say, and we have to actually make an effort to come back, then we don't want it. And maybe there's some truth to that. Let's see again. We got Haiti again, but still not scoring on the front end on the field as well as they should. Yes, absolutely. Again, we have confronted with this this weird observation that having Paulo Dybala and Lukaku on the pitch doesn't guarantee you 3 points. We saw it against Servette. You had Paulo Dybala, Lukaku, El Shaarawy, Lorenzo Pellegrini, all at the same time on the pitch, and yet you were sterile, and yet you struggled to create, yet you still struggled to move in the attacking phase of the pitch. So it's an awareness that is very important, because it has to teach you, Roma, that you cannot underestimate an opponent just based on the fact that you have 2 world-class players leading your attack. It just doesn't work that way, right? It doesn't automatically give you the 3 points, especially in Serie A. It doesn't work that way, but we also saw that in the Europa League with Slavia Praha and Servette most recently. Milos, thank you, Milos, for being here. Great win. Things to take away are that Spina and Paredes are done. Christensen is a super sub. Okay, well, first of all, hold on. Spina is done. Paredes, I don't think Paredes is done. I think Paredes needs still the benefit of the doubt. I still think that Paredes should be doing what Cristante is doing, and Cristante should be doing what Paredes is doing in order for Paredes to maximize his efficiency. He's a player that Mourinho likes very much, so I don't think that this is the kind of player that we can definitely say, oh, he's done. Spinazzola is done. Spinazzola is a player that has been here for years and years. What we are seeing from him now is what we saw last season with him. It's just not good enough. if Jose can replace Spinazzola with Zalewski, we can achieve some stability. It's so funny because, right? Because, look at us. A few weeks ago, we were calling for Zalewski's head. Now it seems like it's Spinazzola's turn. Oh, how the tables turn, right? Let me just read. I like the fact that we got a lot of comments tonight, so keep them coming, guys. I'm trying to cover everything and answer everybody's question or address everybody's comments, so please don't be shy. Tap it into your chat, and if you haven't given us a like yet, put the thumbs up so we can get into the algorithm. I don't get the Spina criticism, says Corey. Yes, he's declining, but who else do we have? Zaleski is a liability on left. Spina is all we have until the summer market. Well, Salik is there, but I think Salik is one of the players that is back in the doghouse, along with Houssem Aouar after Servette. So Salik is there. Salik should be also playing on the left, and he does play on the left, but I think he's in the doghouse along with Houssem Aouar and some other players. I feel bad for Aouar, says Milos. I always thought he needs time to settle into the team. He definitely needs, but I said it time and time again. Aouar, in my mind, is a player that you get before all the changes take place. Aouar is a player that you get before Tammy gets hurt, before Nemanja Matic leaves. He's a player that belongs in a completely different midfield. He's a player that doesn't belong in a team that plays with Leandro Paredes in that way. He's a player that doesn't belong in a team that has to try and figure out a way to, make up for Matic's sudden departure. So it's very unfortunate for him because he's definitely not doing himself any favors, but also just the way the team plays right now, what Mourinho's asking of him is not at all his bread and butter. Okay, this is not him. This is a player that should be playing the way Renato Sanchez, ideally in a healthy scenario, which is non-existent, should be playing. I love Asmoon. Yes, I'm fully on board for the Asmoon love train. We got Chinedu from Abia, Nigeria. Thank you for joining us, Chinedu. If you haven't liked the live stream, please give us a like. And if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, this is your place for all things Roma related. We have lots of good things, including podcast episodes that you can find here in video format. And otherwise, you can listen to the podcast also in audio on all platforms, wherever you get your podcasts from. Fourth place, baby, says Philip. Only 3 more to go. Absolutely. In this year's Serie A, says Duncan, if Roma can just play consistent, they can get top 4. And Mourinho acknowledged it. Mind you, that's very impressive. He said yesterday, if the team is healthy, they can compete for top 4. Now, that's very good for Mourinho to openly admit it. I know a lot of people are like, well, no, don't say it. Don't say it. It's not true. Well, that's what Roma set out to do this year. That's what Roma set out to do when Mourinho signed on in the first place. So let Roma do what they're supposed to do. And whether they achieve it or not, that's where we will base our judgment on, right? And I think that's where the club also will base their judgment on, with regards to long-term plans for both Mourinho, the team itself, how it's constructed, their ambitions, their objectives, and how the club want to go into the future. Wow, we got Haiti in Melbourne, Australia. Been up since 3:30 a.m. this morning. Was wondering why I got up early at the 70th minute. Oh my goodness. Well, this never ceases to amaze me how people are so passionate about Roma. What this experience with Roma Press has taught me on the website, on social media, on our patron WhatsApp group chat is that no matter where people live, if Roma is there, they're tuning in, and that's amazing, guys. I'm 80. I'm chapeau. You know how they say chapeau, because that's pretty amazing. The ref was good today. Yeah, the ref needed a little bit of scolding from Jose Mourinho. And wasn't it hilarious how Mourinho, after the game, decided to answer Sky Sports questions all in Portuguese. He said he doesn't feel comfortable enough to speak in Italian because he may be misunderstood. Now, that's obviously sort of a response, a hit back against everything that followed his recent comments about the designation of today's referee, Matteo Mercero, and sort of everything that followed that, all the criticism, all the commentary, all the noise directed at Mourinho. Mourinho just went out of his way to speak some good old-fashioned Portuguese. So I found it very, very funny. We got Mr. Basement, our favorite username. Hello, Andy. Well, hello to you, sir. Kenneth Christensen won the Bruno Perez Award of Canon events. Yes, definitely. It's true. I even think that Bruno Perez once scored a goal like that, like deflected in that fashion. Could it be against I want to say Sampdoria 2016? He scores in one of those games, either Sampdoria or Udinese, 2016, 2017, with those ugly Fanta t-shirts. Well, jerseys, yeah. I'm gonna be honest. If that penalty was against us, I would be furious, but I'll take it. What are you talking about? He swipes his foot. He swipes his foot. I mean, I'm always pissed when we get penalties called against us. So, but that one, come on. The penalty is there. The red card is there. It all matches. Important win, but not convincing for Roma to win with one more player, and a penalty shouldn't be the case. Well, I mean, I was talking to John about this. Is that I get it. A lot of people are unsatisfied when Roma win this way. They call it unconvincing. They call it unsustainable. How can you sustain this rhythm in the long run? How can you let the other team lead and then have the confidence, have the strength to come back, which is not a guaranteed thing, especially if you're Roma? Well, the answer is I don't know. But another answer is that it's part of football. Red cards are a part of football. Penalties are a part of football. And making comeback wins is part of football. I was saying to John, Massimiliano Allegri is in first place in the league by basically winning every single match 1-0, 2-1, 1-0, 2-1, 1-0, 2-1. Yesterday he wins with Gatti at the 95th minute. What can I tell you? It works for Roma. Right now, Roma seem to have found a groove in these occasions. In these circumstances, they almost seem like they got it, like they know what they're doing. They feel comfortable. All of a sudden, they come alive. And it doesn't seem flukish. It doesn't seem like it's done, as a result of a particular incident. It's almost like it's meant to be with Roma at this point. I don't know what it is. If you ask me, is it sustainable in the long run? I don't know. I don't know if I can trust this team to the extent that they would need me to trust them for them to win every game like this. But so far, you can clearly see it works for them. They thrive. When Azmoun is out there, it's almost like, okay, we got this guy, we got the band together, we're getting it done, And I think that is invaluable if you're trying to build something, is find something that works for you. Even if it means going down in the first place. If you can assure me that I get the 3 points, I'm happy. Why Mourinho insists on sticking with a 3-5-2, I'll never know. We have no wing backs of quality. We don't have the defensive solidity the formation should afford. For the love of God, changes. I completely agree with you 100%. I said it time and time again. So far, my wishes haven't been answered, but that's okay. That's okay. Someday, somewhere over the rainbow, it will happen. Atalanta versus Milan, Juventus versus Napoli, Roma versus Fiorentina up next. Huge. Yeah, it's a huge round of games. I wanted to just take this moment to quickly read off the schedule that we have. So we have we have just beaten Sassuolo. Now we're gonna have Fiorentina on the 10th. So we have one full week to prepare for Fiorentina. Then in quick succession we have Sheriff, midweek fixture, the final game of the Europa League Group Stage G. Then we have, for the holidays, we got Bologna right before that, Napoli on the eve of the holidays, and then we got Juventus a week later. Now, and obviously Cremonese after the new year. That's a quick succession of games that are difficult, important, and tricky. All of them, including Sharif, because we all know what is at stake. We all know what Roma must do to even accomplish the miracle that is now finishing first in the group. I think the team and Mourinho are sort of have accepted the fact that it won't happen, but mathematically it still could happen. Okay, we got Bologna, who are a very tough team to crack. You don't know what you're gonna get with them. They are strong, but they also make mistakes. They're still a young, inexperienced team that can make mistakes. And then we got Napoli, and Napoli are also in a sort of weird bubble where nothing that seemed to be working last year seems to be working now in that same way. It just doesn't feel right? So, and then obviously Juve, that's a whole separate story. So we got Fiorentina next, and I think Fiorentina, if there is a team that is similar to Roma in a number of aspects, and then very, very different in a number of others, it's Fiorentina. And it's going to be fun. I think that should be a good game, and I think that will be definitely a good test for Roma after this recent stretch of games. I agree with 4 in the back. Mourinho always says we don't have wingers, but Elsha and Zaleski are more wingers than wingbacks. We have Pellegrini, Asmoon also played on wing before. Like Mourinho said, we got a lot of options, and he knows it now. He's admitted to it today as well. Mourinho sticks to 3-5-2 because we are too vulnerable in the back. We need 3 center backs. The fact that we have shitty wing backs is included in the equation. Also, do we have classic wingers? Hello, Oleg. Always lovely to have your optimistic takes. But also, no, I like your take. I like the explanation, and I partly agree with you. Like, it's pretty evident that Mourinho is trying to make up for Matic's absence. As foolish as it sounds, as naive as it sounds, I think really that's the case. Like, Matic's absence and Chris Smalling's injury have left such a void in Mourinho's mind as to what this team can do that it almost works to the extent that he has to do everything he can to keep some kind of glue. I don't know to what extent it works. We saw it today as well. I mean, that goal is such a stupid goal to concede, something that you would probably not see at all last season, and yet here we are. Regarding our shape in opponent's half, I understand Dybala's desire to swing out wide to receive the ball more, but it seems like we're more dangerous when Lukaku is someone playing off of him. I agree. Yeah, I mean, I honestly think Lukaku and Asmoon is the way to go, but what do I know? What do I know? I really like what Asmoon is doing. Honestly, I could dedicate this whole live stream to how much I like Asmoon. I would be fanboying for Asmoon, but I really think the guy deserves it because he does the little things correctly. In a team where players that have more responsibilities than Asmoon, say Spinazzola, say at times Paredes, say at times Pellegrini, in a team like that where these people with major responsibilities make more mistakes than Asmoon, Asmoon is a welcome sight. Asmoon is a breath of fresh air. There's a guy who wants to do the right thing, doesn't need to be, the greatest. He can just keep it down a notch and still be useful. That's great. For Roma, it's great. Anybody coming in January? Thiago Pinto was asked that question right before the game. The only thing he said was "vediamo," which means let's see. And there goes my water, and I'm going to die of thirst for the remaining portion of the live stream. Wow, guys, there's a lot of comments. I love it. The slow start is due to slow midfield. Paredes, who should be the maestro connecting defense to attack, isn't doing enough. Cristante isn't doing well with progressing the ball forward, and that's what I'm saying. And John also backed me up on this. Why is Paredes doing what Cristante should be doing, and why is Cristante doing what Paredes should be doing? Like, I don't know. It seems so evident. Cristante is not doing so bad. Cristante has been one of the more consistent players this season, and yet it feels like Paredes is being locked inside a small bubble, kind of like Aouar. Although Paredes gets the start time and time again, for him to really become effective, you have to give him sort of the bit of the freedom that Cristante now has been granted. We lack Regista in the midfield and a chief in the defense. Also, a proper left wing back would be appreciated. Then we can compete with the best. We're still struggling after the loss of Smalling and Matic, two fundamental players. Absolutely agreed. Although I also think that pointing out what this team is missing at this time, and also knowing what Roma can do, or rather can't do, in January, is self-defeating. We are not gonna get what we want, guys. January is always, for Roma especially, a time of miracles. Like, if there is somebody that you can bring in and who can immediately give you what you require, then great. Otherwise, Roma will not risk it, will not spend it, because they can't spend it. We're still under financial fair play. So I love how everyone was saying that we need Renato midfield, and then Servette happened. Well, I mean, it happens all the time to every player. There's been a point where Belotti, this team couldn't play without Belotti. There was the time where this team couldn't play without Spinazzola. There was a time where this team couldn't play without Karsdorp, and then here we are, guys. Hamlet from Atlanta. Great to have you, Hamlet. I think the first time reading your comment. I love this, but they should be more consistent. Mourinho needs to be trusted. I agree. Overall, I agree. It's always a matter of consistency, and I think Mourinho is pretty aware of it. He even mentioned the fact that, I have to get into these guys' heads. That's what he was saying. Like, the only thing as a manager that I can do is really get inside their heads, hammer the focus, the consistency into their heads. Because you can be a maestro, you can be a tactical mastermind, but you need to have a connection with these players. Mourinho has an emotional connection with the players at Roma. Did you see him celebrate with the team, with Pellegrini, who hugged him, lifted him up off his feet after the game? He's got the connection, so he can go out of his way and make comments. He can criticize his players, can say, the fact that they were superficial, because he's got that connection. But also there has to come a time where these players understand what it really is all about. It's not only about feeling good with each other, having fun, having a few laughs. It's also about responding adequately on the pitch in true Mourinho fashion. Immense dopamine rush, says Shoaib, when the camera panned to Berardi after the full time. The absolute state of Spinazzola for their goal, not tracking his men for the second game running. He's actively playing against that. I think actually this is like the third game in a row where Spinazzola is an absolute mess defensively. I don't know, man. Again, I don't want to, when you point out a player, then you go after him. I don't want to do that, but it sucks that we have somebody who theoretically has everything that you need to succeed, and yet, and he's been a difference maker for us in the past, so we know it's there somewhere deeply buried in him, but it's not coming out now. And in my mind, it's just a matter of attitude. I mean, it is so evident that the guy is tuned out. He's not playing 100%. So I really don't know that choice of giving him the guaranteed start. Really, it's mind-boggling. 11 against 10 doesn't always go your way. Look at Chelsea, Brighton. Absolutely, Alex. 11 against 10 doesn't mean a thing if you can't make the best of it. Spina was really struggling today, both offensively and defensively. Okay, I think we covered Spinazzola plenty, so we're just trying to skip ahead. Just check that Spina had 0 out of 7 crosses on target. I didn't know it was that bad. Yeah, it's that bad. It is, unfortunately. Chinedu, I personally think that referees should have more balls and be criticized more. It shouldn't be wrong for a manager to express their insecurity about a referee's job on the pitch. not their personality. I agree with you. I think there should be more dialogue between the teams and the referees. I think there is such a disconnect between the two parties. I think that's why the Referees Association are always worried that any comment that comes out of Mourinho's mouth can sort of trigger an instant reaction of other coaches, other teams, not getting along with referees, making problems, and then the fans making trouble for the referees. But there has to be dialogue. There has to be more openness. Right now, the tension, I think, in Serie A especially is at an all-time high, and I think everybody involved knows it. So there's always these meetings between the clubs every once in a while. I think during the international breaks, the managers, the people working for the manager, the assistants, they always gather. I think either at Coverciano or in Milan, and they talk to AIA representatives, so the representatives of the Referees Association, in order to clarify things, to address episodes, to talk about. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. There's still a lot of tension, and the fact that we can't have a proper dialogue, I absolutely agree. It's sort of a contributing factor to that. JD, Paredes just ain't it. Do the slow, misplayed passes here and there. Roma ranks poor when it comes to interceptions in the Serie. Obviously, Jose needs help here. Pinto, for God's sake, help this man. I don't know what you mean by that, because the midfielders are there. If you're gonna sign someone in January, it's not gonna be a midfielder. So please, let's not skip ahead to January, okay? Shall we? Because January, guys, it's the time where we get the Clément Greniers of the world or the Jonathan Silvas of the world. Very rarely does it really work for us. Last year it worked with Diego Llorente, the previous year with Sergio Oliveira, but it's not a tradition. January is it's not meant to solve any of your problems. Everybody knows that. Mourinho, Mancini, even Mancini today went out of his way when he was asked about Roma's mentality and said, listen, it cannot be bought. It's not that you go out of your way, you make a transfer move, and all of a sudden the team clicks. It's work, it's ethic, it's dedication, it's being on the same wavelength. Paredes can be good for you. He can. He's been good for Argentina. You have to put players in positions where they can succeed. If you can make a compromise, that's when it clicks. That's when it works. So let's not give up just yet on people that came here a few months ago. Okay, if there's something that we can focus on, is the players that take it as a guarantee, as a necessity to start, to play, to earn minutes. It's not. It should be a privilege. Mourinho ball versus Allegri ball will be an experience, especially this year. This year, it's going to be Clash of the Titans. Our stats with Napoli have been more or less identical this season in terms of goals scored, conceded. Not sure if that's good or bad. Well, I mean, I think that speaks more of Napoli's downfall rather than anything else. I think that just shows that Spalletti was doing an immense job, and Napoli underestimated that and thought, well, I mean, the team is good, so we might as well have Rudy Garcia get in and do the minimum to keep it going. But it blew up in their faces. It's good to see Roma being in the top four. I hope it will challenge players to want to keep it at it until the end. I'm concerned with Ndika. He's always caught in the action ball and ball watching. I agree. Ndika has been a bit shaky in these recent games. I liked him before the international break. I do agree that sort of the fact that Napoli just lost to Inter and the fact that Roma reaffirmed this fourth place can be a big boost, and I think it definitely depends on whether you can stay fit, whether you can stay motivated. We remember the last time we were, what was it, top 3 in March, and then the injuries happened and boom, off you go into the dumpster, right? And you have to focus on the Europa League. Hopefully, to the footballing gods above, I hope that the fact that we only have to face Sheriff and then we can focus on Serie A for 3 straight games, that can really make you focus on one thing, because as soon as Roma start to think, oh, well, we have to win, we have to finish first in the group in the Europa League, we have to do this, we have to do that, we got Coppa Italia against Cremonese, that's when things go south for Roma. If for the run that it consists of Bologna, Napoli, and Juventus, you can put together a nice stretch. I'm not expecting 3 wins, but still some good results. That would be super encouraging for Roma and their chances to finish top four. So football is weird, guys, because we didn't think we'd be here just a few days ago, right? So, and yet. But should Roma care about the Sheriff game? Yes, it's a small chance to finish first, but I think they need to focus more on Fiorentina, be rested for the match. But it's after. We got a week. We got a week to prepare. Sheriff is afterwards. So let's see. What else do we have? Vladimiro. Hello, Vladimiro. Hi, everybody. Another match won in the final minutes. The team that's scoring the most after minute 80. There is a lot to improve, but that statistic shows that we never quit. We have the will to win, and we have the quality to win. Again, I want to stress this. You don't win out of pure luck. You don't win by circumstance. You win because you have the quality to do it. You have the players who read the action well. You have players who can see the space in front of them, who can open up plenty of space for others, such as Moon does for Lukaku, or Dybala does for Christensen. So it's there. The quality is there. It's for the team to figure it out. And I want them to start doing it, not with more consistency, because that they've been doing it, but just stretch it out. Give us more. Give us more quality minutes. Don't limit us to the final 20, 15 minutes. I think in January we're going to... Shoaib, when Paredes played the pass that was too short to El Shaarawy late on, I threw my fist at my sofa cushion. Paredes, I think, is under a lot of stress in this position. And if you let him roam around more freely, that is when he will come alive. I think in January, we're going to get a defender to cover Ndika absence, and that's it. Yeah, well, that's really what I think they're going to focus on, if anything. I agree with you. Mourinho, even yesterday, he said, basically Smalling's absence is very heavy for the team, because Ndika wasn't even supposed to be a starter game in, game out. Ndika was supposed to get acclimated to the team, get used to playing off the bench, get used to playing in the Europa League, in Coppa Italia, whatever it is, and then be a starter from next season. And yet you are basically forced to put all these guys together, with Diego Llorente included, also a guy on loan from Leeds. The expectation is not for him to be a certified starter. And yet, that's the storyline of this season for Roma. Just the phrase, and yet, kind of like Kurt Vonnegut saying, and so it goes, right? For the Slaughterhouse 5 fans out there. Can we sell Belotti, not a bare fit with versus and Smalling due to injury in January, and we get a defender and include Asmoon into the Europa? Can some Saudi Arabian team take Spina from us, please? Spinazzola is a realistic departure. Smalling, I don't think so. With the injury, you're not going to ship him off. Belotti is a no-go. You need all the attackers you can have. So that is definitely not happening, especially after you renewed him just a few months ago. Oleg, can't we get Dier? He would be enough to stitch up our backline. I think there is some truth to that. I don't know if it's as far as advanced as the Italian media report that Roma are in the run for Eric Dier of Tottenham, but I think that would be a welcoming addition, because Dier is very flexible. He can play in the midfield. He knows Jose. He knows what he wants. He can play as a center back. So, and honestly, right now you just need some quick answers. That's it. You don't need more questions. That's the worst thing. Roma don't need questions. They need answers, and they need them fast. What we need to add in January is health. P.S. Andy, bring more water to the live streams. I agree, Duncan. I had a whole bottle for the podcast and the live stream, and I underestimated. I should have had 2 bottles. The other one is in the refrigerator, but I'm not gonna leave you guys hanging as I go for more water. So I'm just gonna pull through it. Shoaib, I can see why we've only scored one set piece goal in Serie A this season. Our 59 corners were all awful, especially in the one where Paredes just passed it to a Sassuolo player. Yeah, that is definitely something we need to work on. It was such a strong suit for this team last season. It cannot have just disappeared off the face of the earth. That has to be somewhere there. It has to be. Love Roma from Moscow. Wow, Yuri, great to hear from you. I still don't understand why Paredes is taking set pieces. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. Quoting the great Gennaro Gattuso. Also, which one of our staff got sent off this time? I don't know, and I don't want to know. Salvatore Foti will be he will not be coming back. He's been suspended for 2 games, so he's still out against Fiorentina. Hey Andy from Melbourne. Wow, Chino. Hey, we have Haiti from Melbourne. We got Chino from Haiti from Melbourne. Just ducked into the toilet to join the live stream for 15 minutes at work. Rasmus today turned into Cristiano Ronaldo for the most important half of an hour of this Roma career so far. Amazing. Thank you for joining me live from your toilet. That is my honor. Thank you for welcoming me into your home. Spandan, we thought the new generation of players are snowflakes. Who knew grown-up referees are the biggest snowflakes? Well, yeah, I mean, I think the whole Italian system of referees is very fragile. It's a job that is based on communication, and yet the main issue between the teams and the referees, and mind you, I'm not saying the referees are at fault. I'm saying it's also a fault of the clubs. There is no mediation, there is no dialogue, there's no communication. There has to be some open channel where the teams can express their grievances without the referees and the FIGC having a panic attack. The real problem is in AS Roma's mentality is some of the players. To see Spinazzola walking instead of running in recovery had me fuming. Yeah, and you have some of these players that do it consistently, and it's sad. Also, for a guy who had to go through the Sassuolo game today, you are looking very tan and relaxed, Andy. Well, it helps that I've been under the sunshine for the past 3 months. Unfortunately, the adventure in the Canary Islands is slowly coming to an end. I'm going back home to Luxembourg in 2 weeks. So, but I have the return ticket to Fuerteventura. I'm just gonna have to change the date, but yes, guys, sunshine helps a lot, and it helps to deal with Roma a lot. If Roma are having a bad day, I just go and I walk across the beach. I go and tan a bit, and life is good again. You're perfectly right. We have the quality to win, says Vladimiro. And when all players will be available, hopefully at some time, we'll have even more quality. We have Marash Kumbulla, who is a big question mark because he's still coming back from the ACL injury. Chris Smalling is an even bigger question mark because Mourinho even said, I mean, the best of scenarios, he comes back to training at the end of the year. But what does that mean? If a guy has missed over 3 months of training, where does that leave him? Pretty much where Marash Kumbulla is, honestly. That's how it works. I know Pellegrini has just come back from injury, but it's not clicking for him at the moment. I hope he can turn it around, but it's looking dire. I think just give him time. Hopefully it's not the fact that this is it. I don't want to believe that this is that from now on, this is the Pellegrini that we get when Dybala is out there. I mean, I think Dybala is like the worst thing that could have happened to Pellegrini. It's really up to them to sort of figure out the compromise because they are great players for Roma. They can be great players for Roma. If they can, be great together, the better for Roma. How about a Festivus live stream of airing of Roma grievances? I'm sure we all have a lot. Oh, I'm positive. We have the Roma Press patron group chat on WhatsApp, which is just fuming constantly when Roma have these games. Whenever there is something not going according to plan, which is most of the time, people are having constant meltdowns, and it's spectacular to see. So I strongly recommend you sign up for the patron on patreon.com/Roma Press. You can help support the show with just any type of plan that you want. Even with just $1, you help make this show and the website possible. So thank you so much. Good work, Andy. I am from South Africa. Thank you so much for being here with me. I appreciate the work you guys do at Roma Press. Keep it up. It's midnight, and it's midnight here. Oh, well, thank you so much for tuning in, and that means a lot to me, all the way from South Africa. Impressive. Spina is done, says Oleg, always with his Polish optimism, which I relate to very strongly. He got his second chance in a row, and now he failed. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what would even motivate Mourinho to put Spinazzola out there against the Fiorentina. Seeing Mkhitaryan bossing the midfield in Inter and benching Frattesi and Inter taking advantage of the new position Jose gave him is painful and joy to watch at the same time. Yeah, I agree. If there is a player that has sort of left me kind of like, I don't know, like unfulfilled, like what could have been had he stuck for longer, is Mkhitaryan, because Mkhitaryan in that role that Mourinho invented for him was something sensational. I mean, he's a quality player just by himself, but that was unbelievable. And the way he left, just sort of left this, I mean, it felt like there was a void, which we are still dealing with today. Like, we haven't found the Mkhitaryan that we lost, I mean, over a year and a half ago. So, just extend Mourinho, please. He's the reason for these comeback wins. Okay, well, I think there's more to the equation, and I think there is more things that you need to consider when you are drawing up a long-term contract. I do agree that if the team continues to respond to Mourinho, then you should do everything it takes to keep him. But that's up for discussion. That's up for the negotiations between Roma and Mourinho's entourage. So, give credit to Consigli. He saved them for 3 to 4 times. I mean, Consigli can be awful or he can be a great goalkeeper. Tonight, we got the great Consigli. We really need to support this team despite a bad start. They are showing progress. If they maintain the mentality, we would be qualified for Champions League. And that's the weird part, because when you watch a game like Servette, you lose all kind of belief in this team, and then boom, they suck you back in, and they've done it time and time again. I don't know how many times I've been on here saying more or less the same things and reading more or less the same comments, because Roma put us through very similar experiences time and time again. It's almost too predictable at this point. Dai Roma, Dai Andy, thank you so much, Carlos. Listening to you in the car. This Roma is made from unexpected heroes. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's what we also mentioned on the podcast today. It's, you have to accept the fact that this team is made up of great players, good players, misfits, players that came on here on loan because they don't fit anywhere else. Well, if you put it all together, you can have some interesting results, I think. And throwing somebody like Rasmus Christensen can bear fruit to something positive. Even throwing Sardar Azmoun out there randomly a few weeks ago then gives you the opportunity to see that he is a player that can give you that flexibility that you need in the second half. So the conclusion is everybody's useful. At some point in time, everybody comes in handy, especially if you're Roma, especially if you're fighting on a number of fronts, especially if you have a busy schedule. You need everybody. I'm relieved that there is no Patricio issue anymore, but I don't want to jinx it. Well, Oleg, I'm afraid that you may have started something. I'm going to hold you accountable. Roma truly is that toxic girlfriend, Milos. Well, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever you want. Yes, it's toxic. It gets the best of you. You're like, oh, I'm done. I'm walking away. I'm not looking at the scoreline. Boom. You're like, oh my God. How many times in the past would we do the famous reaction of turning off the game and being like, I'm done. I don't want to see anything. Then you go home, or you check your computer a few minutes later, and Roma have indeed lost. Well, this time they do anything they can to keep you on the edge of your seat, in the good and the bad. It's up to you to judge for yourselves. Final comments of the night, guys, and then we are going to quit this live stream and I'm going to thank all of you. So before that, I'm going to read the final comments. Christensen, I'm sorry for calling you the death of football every match. Yeah, Christensen is very divisive. He even admitted it himself. He's had a tough time adjusting to Roma, and it's normal. He comes from the Premier League, not a great, player. Yeah, a bit of a goofy player, clunky, broad-shouldered, strong, but not really. I mean, the quality, not exceeding in quality, but you know what I mean. Um, but I think that it can also help you. It can also help you. You just have an extra body to throw out there when you need some pace, some strength. That's all you need sometimes. And today it worked out great for Roma. So I think the message is strength in numbers. That was the motto of the Warriors when they were winning championships. Well, hey, come on, we won 2 years ago, so it's fine. But yeah, strength in numbers. Really, that's a great motto, because it really applies to especially Roma in this case, with the schedule at hand. Everybody can have their chance to shine. You keep saying Roma have quality, and I agree, but not to the extent you make it seem. It's a team mix. No, but I'm not saying they are up there with the other teams. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that they have the quality to beat Salernitana, that you didn't beat, Hellas Verona, you didn't beat, Genoa, you didn't beat them. But you have the quality to win those games. You have the quality to win tonight. You have the quality to win against Servette. You have the quality to win against Slavia Praha. So that's what I mean. I'm not putting Roma ahead of Juve. I'm not putting them ahead of Inter. I'm not putting them ahead of Milan. I'm not even putting them ahead of Napoli, for God's sakes. I'm just putting them ahead of the teams that they should be beating and that they haven't beaten in the opening months of the season. And those matches will cost us. And I think we can all agree on that. Let's not take, issue with things that we can agree upon. Okay. A defender in January and Marcus Leonardo is all I ask for. Well, I think the defender part is going to be guaranteed, and Marcus Leonardo, honestly, from what his agent has been saying these past few weeks, I don't think Roma are on his radar anymore. Calm down, bro. The opening game is far gone. Well, no, it's not even that, because I take issue with Servette, right? That's not an opening game. Servette was just a few days ago. Before that, Slavia Praha. Roma have this. It's not something that they've done in the past and it's over. Now they're cruising. Roma are not cruising. Roma are trying to build something. That's different. And the quality to win against Servette is there. And you know it. I know you know it. You're good, You're good, That's, I'm quoting Robert De Niro in Analyze This with Billy Crystal. Now, that's a great comedy that you can throw on and watch after this live stream. I'm going to end it here, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this live stream, please subscribe to the channel. This is where you can watch all the live streams whenever I schedule them in advance. This is where you can also watch all the podcast episodes in video format, where John and I discuss everything Roma. Tomorrow, the new episode will drop. We recorded it prior to this live stream. It will be available tomorrow on all streaming platforms. And you can also do us a favor and support the show by going to patreon.com/RomaPress and becoming a patron. It would be greatly appreciated, and it really means a lot to us and makes the the development and also conservation of this website and the channel and the social media possible. So it's John and I, and that's it. That's the whole team. So any help is appreciated. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for contributing to this discussion. If you haven't done so already, leave a like before leaving, and I'll see you next time as Roma prepare to face Fiorentina next week. Until then, guys, ciao and Forza Roma.